Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Liluy nishmas Mordechai. Yesterday, we learned the sugya of Yavamis. So typical fashion in Yavamis, Doilam ran away. We have half Doilam here today. We're getting out of it. Don't worry about it. Here's a picture of me on the plane tonight on the way to Miami for Shabbos. This Yitzi Grossberg is already going to Miami to prepare for the Siyum right now. The tzaddik sitting next to me that took the picture didn't realize the significance of getting you in the picture along with the Gemara. But if you look carefully at the reflection in the window, you can see the share on my phone. Unfortunately, I will not be in Miami for the Siyum. I'll be in RBS when you're in Miami. Looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Hopefully you're still in RBS when I call live on Shabbos by Kesher Nafshi. In Talmud since Yuma, Yitzi Grossberg. Good morning, Rebelli. It's been well over a year since I've begun watching. It's constantly gotten better and better. So this is an email that I'm working on my gaiva here. I wouldn't read it if I was mamish on the top of my game. Thanks for always trying to improve it, as well as to all those that assist in that, whether they want to stay anonymous or not. You know, they've become a household name in my house for the past year when my kids pointed out on their own that they recognize the bulldozers and the casinos in Jersey, smooth like a baby's cheek. At least it means that you haven't aged much in almost 10 years. I've watched you for so long that I've even noticed changes in your preparation and delivery, as well as subtle changes, like recently when starting a new Mishnah, you started to call it Zok Heilige Mishnah and not just simply the official Mishnah. I always used to say Zok Heilige Mishnah. Just official ruined it a little bit, but you were going back to, okay, I'm getting better. You see, I'm getting better. Boy, I'm getting better. It's not a guy that says, oh, you're the greatest. I'm getting better. Yeah, everybody's allowed to improve. No? I still would love to come down to Miami if I can find someone to join me and find accommodations. All the best and keep on going. Moshe F. Here is Reb Joey Newcomb. Here we go. I need the button.
Hawaii Rebelli, Haley Rebelli. What are you going to say? Rebelli, I'm Abed David. Rebelli, Mama Shigavalt. Every time I see the chizik from the shir, it just makes me want to sing. Gishmak to do the da, Gishmak to do the da. Gishmak to do the da. It is Gishmak, no? What do you say?
The shaila is, when is Joey joining us? Huh?
Call him out.
I'm calling him out. Joey, you need to join. I know you're Magachir and the whole thing and the yeshiva by my tire chaver of groaner, but no, you got to do that also. Rabbi Isai, the Siyum are starting to come in. Here we got in Manchester. Please join us for the MDY Manchester Siyum Thursday. Only $10 a person. Beer, cholent, kugel. How much is that? $11. It's $11, says the tzaddik from Elia from Manchester. Arit Heiberg, I'll be in Israel mid-January. When is the last shift in Bet Shemesh before the Miami Siyum? So I personally am leaving January 24th. The Siyum in Miami is the 25th. So Bezer Hashem will be a shir that morning. The Siyum is on the 25th. What did I say? Oh, the Siyum will be here on Monday. But I'm saying in terms of the shir, he wants to know if I'll be here that the morning of the 24th, I'll be here the morning of the 24th. The shot is when am I getting back? The trip keeps getting extended and extended. It seems like I'm going from Miami to Colorado to Los Angeles. After snowboarding, yeah, after. But in Los Angeles to be there for Shabbos with my son Akiva, so that's already another Shabbos. So one Shabbos in Miami, one Shabbos in Los Angeles, because we're going from side to side. Huh? Huh? Maybe. We'll see. We might have to stay in America for a few months till the next Siyum. All right. Rabbi Isai, an Oris who's Mayfair with her father died. What about the Siyum here? When's the Siyum here in RBS? Tuesday night. I'll be here. I'll be able to be here right before my flight. On Lachish, in that hall on Lachish. Sign up. It's only 250 shekel a person, but we'll give you a big discount if you sign up today. An Arus who's Mayfair with her father died. You have Arus and a father. But the guy, the Aras dies. And what happens when he dies? She falls to Yibum. They weren't Mefer. They could be Mefer. According to Rebbe Kiva, R8, Rebbe Kiva, the Yavam can't be Mefer, right? We had the whole mission yesterday. The Yavam can't be Mefer. So the question is, could the father be Mefer now? Now that you don't have a Yavam, and you don't have Aras. Before, it was a partnership. Father and husband. Husband dies, a new sort of husband falls into place called the Yavam, but Rebbe Kiva says he doesn't count. We don't look at him. He can't do hafara. What about the father? Could the father himself do hafara? Another shaila. Now we're at the end of today's daf, we're going to talk about mikvah a lot. So there's a famous shaila. When does a person become tahar? When he goes into the mikvah and dunks, or when he comes out of the mikvah? And maybe we could see a raya from our Gemara one way or another. So yesterday, the koil sponsored by Anonymous from Lakewood, the koil bonus. There's a bonus given by the Gordon family as a bonus on top of the koil guys' check. The learning. Rabbi Gordon gave, I don't know if he wants to say, but I'll say anyways, there's no Anonymous in MDY. He gave $1,000 to the koil. The learning on Tu Teves, January 8th should be for your chmiel, Olav Shalom ben Yisrael, Sheyichia. If you weren't part of the shir then, it was during COVID when your chmiel was very sick with a brain tumor in the hospital, and we didn't know who this person was. He used to come on Zoom every single day for months, and we couldn't figure it out. It said CHOP. CHOP stands for Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. Of Philadelphia. Sorry, Philadelphia. We didn't know. It said CHOP. CHOP. And every day would say, "No, CHOP, show your face, CHOP." Nothing. Turns out that he was a chashuv young man from Lakewood, stuck in a hospital because they locked the doors. They didn't want people because of COVID and the whole. I see Benny, you're not even familiar with the story, so I'll tell you the story. And they said either in or out. You could choose, but if you want to stay with your son, you can't go out, you can't come back. So he chose to stay there for months with his kid during COVID. Meanwhile, his family, and I forgot how many kids he had. And then MDY Haber started sending these kids gifts. And the kid once blurted out, he wished he could go on a kayak. The next day, a 15-foot green kayak showed up in their house. Kids are things like that, and they bought them a computer and then set them up with internet so they could talk to each other from the hospital back to the desk. And one of the most emotional things was when Yerachmiel, Allah Hashem, was nifter that day. It was a very emotional time, and then people went to be Menachem Mavel, and that's when Shlomi Klein went to be Menachem, the whole thing. But for me, one of the most emotional times in my life was by the Siyum of Mesechtes Pesachim. The father, Rabbi Yisrael, presented me the pillowcase, an MDY pillowcase that somebody sent him as a gift to the hospital, and Yerachmiel slept on that pillow. And he said, "I want to give it to you for the Lila Seder." And Mamish broke down crying, and I had the pillow with me in the hotel, and I went from table to table. I just made sure that everybody, I wasn't happy until they started crying. Said over the story, showed them the pillowcase, said the kid, 8-year-old kid was nifter, and here's the pillow. It was a nervine. Okay, anyway, so today's his yard site, bringing back the memories, and he donated a nice amount to the koil, so Yishkoyach, he himself is a koil guy. So, the Masechta, in Sgula Katoyer and Tומכיה, כיעקב ויעל, the neshama of Yerachmiel should have an aliyah. In Sgula Katoyer and Tומכיה, כיעקב ויעל. Shaul Gross, 15th of Teves, liluy nishmas, Avi Mori, Baruch ben R'Avrohom Zvi, a Holocaust survivor, his neshama should have an aliyah. And the art is sponsored for a complete refuah for Chaim Tzvi ben Leah. Reb Yid, we have a chair right over here. This is the guest place right over here. Come on in. No. You'll sit and you'll stand. We'll let you stand also. Let's forget. What's your name, Tzaddik? What's your name? Sam. Sam from where? Samet. Oh, Samet. I know you. Yeah, Avada. Okay. Who? Ah, where is he? How come he's not here? Was it? Yeah, but they were here. Your grandson was here once, no? No, the player. So where is he? Where's Rabbi Solovsky? You're not gonna sit next to. Okay, fine. Whatever you want. All right. So Rabbi said we finished the Amud yesterday, all the way to the last word, Mai. But because it's Nedarim and we have pretty short dapim, so I would like to do a quick chazar. I'm going to fly through it. You don't have to really understand what I'm talking about. Just hold on for the ride. Basically, it goes like this. If you see the chart, we had a case where you have three brothers, Reuven, Shimon, and Yehuda. Button. Good. And Reuven goes bye-bye. So what happens is that his wife Rachel, she falls liyibum to one of the two brothers. There's a zika, there's a bond between the two. She's a shemeres yavim to two yavamim. Shemeres yavim just means that nishtahin nishtaher. There's no chalitza performed, no yibum performed. She's waiting. She's in the wings. And there's a zika to two. So says Rebbe Eliezer in the Mishnah that one of the brothers, either Shimon or Yehuda, could be mefer her neder. She has a neder, give me mefer. Huge chiddush. So the Gemara explains, no, it's not as simple as you think. It's talking about that one of the brothers performed the maimer. One of the two. And that particular brother, he's the one that could do the hafara. What does maimer mean? Maimer means he gave her a ring. He gave her money for kiddushin. So yes, the Torah doesn't talk about that. Or maybe it does, according to one shita, but it makes the bond a lot stronger, and therefore, maybe she's noider on his das, is in conjunction with perhaps the fact that he has to give her mezainas, together with the father. Great. So I'm just going to start reading here very quickly from Tanya Namehachi, because in order to understand what this last word is, in the next little part of the sugya, we're going to be done. By the Mishnah, we're going to be finished with Ivamas. Let's just read this real quickly. It's 7:31 now. Let's see how fast we can do it until the bottom of the Amud. Tanya Namihachi. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 lines from Ein Daled Amud Beis from the top. Tanya Namihachi. Kirabami. I have a right to Rabami that says, Rabami says that we're talking about a case with this maimer. You see, one of the brothers performed maimer a kiddushin. It says like this: Shemeres yavam ben yavam echa ben shnei yavamim. Whether this is like our Mishnah, whether there's two brothers or one brother. Rebbe Eliezer omer yafer, Rebbe Shua omer leechad v'lo yishnayim. Rebbe Eliezer says even one out of two brothers is tremendous chiddush. You could do hafara. Rebbe Shua says no, only if there's one brother, because then the connection is solid. Two brothers, we don't know, and ein breira, you don't know who the real husband is. Even if we find out later who the real husband is, you can't retroactively decide who it is. It doesn't matter. Even if you have one brother, that one brother cannot perform hafara because he's not as strong as a husband, as a aros. Now this is what we want to bring the raya right here. A wife, you have zero to do with your wife until you perform Erusin, until you give her a ring, and once you do Erusin, she's finished to him. In other words, he could do hafara. Isha, now Yavama, oh, here's our raya. Let's look at these words very carefully. We're going to go back to these words. Isha, ad a Yavama, who he has something to do with her before she comes into his rishus. What does that mean, before she comes into his rishus? His brother died. Like in this case, Reuven is bye-bye. Now she has something to do with him, even though she's not in his possession. She's not in his rishus. So the Gemara understands over here that mishabas l'rishusay means she came into his rishus. How? Through maimer. So this is a raya that we're talking about maimer, because it's two stages. The Gemara says here. We're talking about a yavama. No question that her husband died. Stage 1 is loy tavei l'rishusay. She's not in his rishus. Stage 2 is tavei l'rishusay. Now, if she's completely married to him, there's yibum, then what is she? She's a 100% wife, and a husband can be made for nedarim. So we're not talking about a wife. We're talking about a woman who came into the rishus of the yavam, whereas before she wasn't in the rishus of the yavam. How's that possible? If her original husband dies, so what is she? She's not in his rishus. So what happened that she is in his rishus? If he was miyabim her, he performed yibum, so she's a regular wife. If he wasn't miyabim her, so she's still not in his rishus. So what does it mean? She was not in his rishus, and today she is in his rishus. The only explanation I could come up with is he performed maimer, something in between.
Why the Chiddush of Zika not enough? That's an in-between state. Zika.
No. So then, what is it? A very good zika. And what does it mean? Shaloi tava l'rishusai. Explain to me these words. Isha sheyesh lechelek. He has something to do with her. Ad shaloi tava l'rishusai. The zika, right? So why does it say shaloi tava l'rishusai? She's not what? Right. Before maimer. Exactly. Exactly. The zika before maimer is called shaloi tava l'rishusai. Zika together with maimer is called mishabas l'rishusai. So we see that we're talking about a case of maimer. Reb Ami's mechadish that we're talking about maimer. Maimer is a very rare thing. Well, in our days, the Shulchan Aruch passes, if you want to be miyabim, and we don't, not miyam today, but let's say you want to be miyam, we spoke about it in Yavamis, you should do maimer because it's more appropriate. Fine. But it's a chiddush that we're talking about maimer. Not everybody holds like Reb Ami. So, but where do we see that we're talking about maimer? Because of this lashon here. Ashalei taveh shusay, mishubas shusay. And then she came out. Rabbi Kiva said, "Loy, not true. Wait a minute. When you are performing kiddushin on a woman, so beforehand, once you perform a kiddushin, nobody can come and ruin your kiddushin. She could be mizana, and then you're chayav to give her a get, but it doesn't ruin your kiddushin. But this yivama that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave her to the Yavam. If there's another brother, any brother could go and be miyabim her, give her a get and ruin it for the other one. So don't bring a raya from anything. So this Rebbe tells him, that's great when there's two Yavam and one can ruin for the other. But if there's only one Yavam, like I say, I Rebbe Shua hold that there's a difference between one Yavam and two Yavam. I Rebbe Shua hold that there's one Yavam, he does have the ability to be made for another. Says Rebbe Kiva, I'll bring you a raya from another case, which we're going to see in a second what it is. There's no difference between one Yavam, two Yavamim, ukeshar dvarim kenedarim, just like by this other case. This, we're going to say, it's talking about Misa. There's no difference between Yavam, one Yavam and two Yavamim, Maimer and no Maimer. There's no Chiyuv Misa. If somebody goes ahead and marries her, there's no Misa. There's no Skila. So too, you cannot compare Yibum to regular marriage when it comes to be made for another. Regular marriage, a husband could be made for another. And Yibum, you can't be made for another. Again, regular marriage, if the wife is Mizana, there's Misa. By Yibum, there's no Misa. There's a Zika. That Zika is not strong enough to create a Chiyuv Misa. B'loshen hazeh, Omar ben Azai. So ben Azai said about himself, Chaval alecha ben Azai, shaloi shimash Rebbe Kiva. Look how strong he is. Look how beautiful it is. He says such beautiful svaras. He destroyed us. He got us good. Chaval, I wasn't mishamish him. I would have gained that much more. Now, says the Gemara, 6 minutes. Okay, it was kedai. My time give us the Reb Ami. So where do you see from this whole thing that we just said, like Reb Ami? I already told it to you. Diktani, bein shasa b'maimer, ubein shelo yasa b'maimer. Because Rebbe Kiva, another pshat. Rebbe Kiva, when he answers Rebbe Eliezer, he says, there's no difference if he made maimer or no maimer. So in other words, he's addressing the maimer issue. You, Rebbe Eliezer, think that's talking about the case that he did maimer, and I'm telling you, Rebbe Kiva says, no difference, maimer or no maimer. Even if he did maimer, still he doesn't have power to be made for a neder. Inami, another pshat, Mireisha. From the first part of that brayso, diktani b'shenichnes al rishusai nigmer lai. Once she goes into rishus, it's over. Vidloi kaddish my nigmer lai. Tivshel minei b'shas kishas b'maimer. So it goes on this part that I was referring to. The Ram points out you just have to continue going. B'shabas rishus nigmer lai. Isha sheyesh lechelek at shalota. You have to continue talking here. The Gemara just brings the first part, but it means the second part. That when it comes to Yibum, there's a stage which is called not in the Yavim's Rishus. Then there's a stage called in the Yavim's Rishus before he actually marries her. What is that? Must be Tifshait Minei Kishasa b'Maimer. We're talking about a case where he performed Maimer. Okay, end of that. Done. Now the Gemara just goes back into Rebbe Kiva Mai ucheshar dvarim kein nedarim diktani. Again, you see the Gemara talks in hints over here. The whole thing is hints. You have to know a little bit more. What did Rabbi Akiva tell Rabbi Eliezer? There's another case where you see a tremendous difference between a Yavama and a Yavam and a husband. So too, when it comes to Nedarim, there's a huge difference between a Yavam and a husband. A husband could be made for his wife's Nedarim, and a Yavam can't. This is what he meant. By Naira Murasa, when she's engaged in real life, somebody's mizana with her, there's a Chiyav Skila, but not by Yavama. Just because she has a bond to her Yavam doesn't make her Chayav Skila. So, even though there's Maimer and everything, it doesn't matter. There could be Maimer, she's still not on the level of a Naira Murasa, says Rabbi Akiva. A Naira Murasa, such a strong bond between her and her Oros, that if she's Mizana, she gets Skila, and the other guy gets Skila, that shows she's Eishes Ish Mamish. There's 100% Eishes Ish. Whereas by Yevama, the bond is not so strong. You can add a ring, call it Maimer, on top of a Zika, a bond. She's not 100% Eishes Ish. There's no skila, and therefore, if there's no skila, the bond is not strong, then the husband, the yavam, doesn't have the right to be made for a nether. Exactly. Very good point. Very good point. You hear what he's asking? Is it because Maimer is the Rabbana and not the Raisa? In other words, if Maimer is the Raisa, shouldn't it be as strong as Erusin? And the answer is you're probably right. Yes. Why not? Yeah, okay. Isser Misa. Misa. No, if she's married, if Maimer is kind to her like Erusin, so she's Naira Murasa. If she's a Naira, she's a Naira Murasa. So yeah, the Rishonim talk about that. That Einachanami, this according to the Shita and Beis Shammai, like you're saying, according to the Shita and Beis Shammai, that Maimer is a Kinyan Gomer Doiraisa, right? We also said yesterday that even in Beis Shammai, there's some who hold that it's not a Doiraisa. It was only strong enough to knock off the Tzara, the Maimer, and that's only in the Rabbanan case. But let's say you hold that Beis Shammai hold that Maimer is the Doiraisa, so yes, she's going to be a full-fledged Arusa and Yechayiv Misa. Einachanam. Omer Ravashi. Masnisa Nami Deika. Taika. You could prove it from our Mishnah. It says, even in a case when there's one Yavam, okay, whatever. I just made it easier for the Olam. Fine. Here's a case of one Yavam. Yeah? A brother goes bye-bye and he leaves a wife, an almana, who falls liibum to her brother-in-law. So it says, Ein yivama gemura liisha kishem sha'arusa gemura liisha. You see this idea that she's not a complete wife. This zika doesn't create a complete bond. It says in the Mishnah that kind of lashon, like we're trying to explain in Rabbi Akiva. Here, that's what Rabbi Akiva says there in the Mishnah. Ein yivama gemura liisha kishem sha'arusa gemura liisha. And arusa is 100% eishesish. You can't, and it's skila, you can't say the same thing about a yivama. And Memela, that's why he cannot be Mayfair. So as I mentioned yesterday, the Ran says, therefore, because you see how strong Rabbi Akiva is, nobody argues on Rabbi Akiva. Not only that nobody argues on Rabbi Akiva, nobody had a counter argument to Rabbi Akiva. And Benazai says, listen, wow, he's unbelievable, Chaval, I wasn't Meshamish, I wasn't Zoycha. So therefore, he paskins like Rabbi Akiva. Now, the Raja says, I have a suffix. What happens if the Yavam dies? What happens if the Yavam dies? Who's made for the Nedarim now? You have a father. You have Yavam, the original guy dies. Says the Ran, who's made for the Nedarim? So he says, the father is made for by himself. Why that lashon of nisroikna? Remember nisroikna la'av. The power empties out back to the father. But nedarim, that she was neider when she was with the yavam, that he has a suffix whether or not who's Mefer. I just thought it was an interesting lashon. If you look all the way at the end, right before it says Mishnah in the Ran, so you look over there, it says Le'inya Maisa Tzorch Iyon Ubedika B'divrei Rishonim Zichronim Levracha. To know exactly what to do here, we have to look into the Rishonim. Okay, he himself is a Rishon. We have to look into the Rishonim because those who were before, like the Rambam and the Ramban, those are Rishonim. Okay. Says the Heilige Mishnah, sponsored by Yoel Friedman, liluy nishmas, my dear father, Chaim Avram, Shulam Yeruchim Ben Yisrael David Olav Shalom. Hoimel Ishtoi, Kol Nedarim, Sh'Nedarim Mekan Atcha Ovoi Mimokim Ploini Hareim Kayovim. We have a little bit of art here. Whatever. Kol Nedarim Sh'Nedarim Mekan Atcha Ovoi Mimokim Ploini Hareim Ufarim, and she says whatever. Fine. He's going on a little trip. Huh? Right. No, in the second it says Mufarim. That's.
Don't be that guy again. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, she's cooking the fire thing. Okay, fine. The point is, it's not. I'll tell you, there's a little bit of an issue with this drawing. I wish I would have seen it before 3 a.m. He was already sleeping. No, it's a great drawing, but just to point out something, the Ran says over here that it's not a case of me'achshav. He tells her, when I leave, then it's going to be chal. In other words, he gives himself a little bit of room. He says, listen, I'm going on a trip. Last time I went on a trip, you became off afromt, you started watching shurim. I once heard a guy say that a lot of balas tshuvas happen from when the husbands leave the country for like a month or two, so the wives get bored and they start watching shurim, Rahman al-Islam, and they become more and more from. So this guy says, listen, last time I did it, it was a mess, and I got back. So all you Nedarim are mufar. But he says, from the day I leave. I'm saying this 2 days before I leave. I'm anticipating, I might forget, I'm going to be busy. Tell you now, it's not a halach of mi'achshav from this moment. In this picture, it looks it's already this moment. He's already on his way. He's gone. He's going to Hawaii or something. Yeah, she's watching shiurim. You see, she's already watching. He's mechaven. She's already watching shiurim in the left window over there. Yeah. He's going to Miami to the Siyum. Very good, very good. Okay, so if he tells her, he wants to be mekayim something that didn't happen yet. What's Allah? I can't be mekayim today. I can't say it should be a good neder today. But if he says harayin mufarin, it should be annulled. I'm done with these nedarim. It's good. You can be mefer. I can anticipate a neder and say, if you ever try to make a neder, it's going to be batal mevutal from now. You can't do that. So he starts proving. If she already made a neder and he found out about it after she made a neder, he has the right to annul it, to be made for it. So shouldn't he have the right to stop it from happening to begin with? If it already is there, it's mamish chal, it's chalois neder, it's a strong thing, I could come in and do it. So certainly, if it didn't even happen, I could stop it from happening. This is the pasuk we had yesterday, but we're learning something out from it. Else, we have a hekesh. They're saying like this. Just the Ran sticks in a beautiful word. You're saying a beautiful kavachomer. Great. I would have gone with the kavachomer. I have a problem. I have a hekesh. A hekesh is stronger than a kavachomer. What do you do with this pasuk? Because a kavachomer is more of logic. Humans can make kavachomers. But when you have a hekesh, there's nothing, you can't do anything about it. It says, the only time you could annul and be mefer and neder is if you have the right at the same time to be mekayim the neder. But if you have a neder that you cannot be mekayim it, why can't you be mekayim it? Because it never happened. We're talking about 2 weeks before it even happened, and you cannot be mekayim it. So then you can't do afara. Since the Torah says those two words right next to each other, Yikimeno and Yifereno, right next to each other, so that's a hekesh. It's in the same pasuk, they have the same halacha. Says the Gemara, Iboilu. There's a lot of lamdish shaylas in this Masechta. Every Masechta, but over here you see like straight out. Iboilu l'Eliezer meichal cholen ubetelin or dilma loichalen klal. What happened there? When the husband says that if you ever make a neder in the future, I'm annulling it. And that's in the future. So what happened? It never even started, or it was chal for a millisecond, and then he's able to revoke it once it's chal for a second. It was chal for a millisecond, and then he came along, what he said 2 weeks ago, that annuls it and it's made for it. What's the nafkemina? Says the Gemara, the mind of Gemina. Daf Ein Hey, Amud Beis, sponsored by Haber for Beracha, Parnassa, Hatzlacha for his entire family, and everyone learning Daf. Everyone learning the Daf. And also, Latzlacha for the members of the HBA Group and their families. Amen. Kigoin, the Atvis Achrine Bohodei Nidro. Check it out. I just found this, something I did, I don't know when, a long time ago. This is nafkemina between my art and Yoshi's art. Basically, you guys are used to it. The guy is an Nazir. Here's a guy that says he's an Nazir. Comes another guy and says, Va'ani, I want to be like him. Over here also, same kind of idea. The woman said, Hareini Naziro. Comes another guy, a copycat, and says, Vani Kamoisa, I want to be like her. Now, if it's chal for a millisecond, so there's a place for his thing to be chal. He says, Vani Kamoisa, I want to be like her during that millisecond. But if it was never chal even for a millisecond, it never even started, even for a moment, then his va'ani is nothing. She was never in a zero. If she was in a zero, I don't care for how long, for 2 hours, then it was annulled. Or a millionth of a second, and then it was nachal, whatever it is. But she was in a zero for a moment in halacha, so then a person could say, and I want to be like that person. But if it wasn't chal at all, and that's why it's a big nafkamina to know, was it chal at all or not chal at all? Now, I just want to say nachamo. Because us human beings are social creatures, everything we do is with chevra, we have to live with other people and we have to be with people. So we mimic each other. We're copycats. That's why Rahman Islam for the bad also. You have people going around shooting up in schools and one Meshugana did it and then it became like a minhag in America. So too, when it comes to the Dvarim Shebikdusha, you see, Vani, what do you mean Vani? He saw a person becoming in a zero, he got a chizuk. He saw it, he said, I also want to be like that. As I get developed. People are copycats, and it's good for the good and for the bad. So that's why I'm saying, if anybody, you should know. You say it again, I said it the other day. If you do a good deed, whatever it is, you do something positive, and people see it, people will follow. I'll take something very simple. In a certain, this might bother some people, I don't care. If a person makabel on himself not to talk during Kaddish, the most chomer thing in davening to talk during, right? Don't talk during that. Everybody knows you're the talker, you don't care about Kaddish. And you don't talk during Kaddish. So it's not only that you're doing for yourself good, but all the people that you shmooze with and all the people that see you, they also say, oh, look, he did. So you mechaz those other people, so you get double, triple the schar, because we're all copycats, that's where we are. Don't take this personally. Stamach, I threw it out there. Okay. Daf Yomi, that I said yesterday. I said it again. I'll say I saw it on today on Mo Landy status. I saw it on the status today. I started getting into the status thing because I want to see if Shalom Rand is going to put MDY in a status. He doesn't. But Mo Landy does come out every day. And he put, because I spoke about him, I said, he learned Maseches Megillah, whatever it was, a crazy thing. Huh? Yosef Rudensky is in JFK. He takes a picture of Mo Landy learning, and it turns out that he's learning Maseches Megillah. The guy is Makam himself to learn Maseches Megillah. A regular balabas, a guy, one of the guys. And then Dov Harris tells me, I learned the whole Masechta because of Mo Landy. I'm serious. Dov Harris lives in England, yeshivish guy from this, and he, because Mo Landy, I could also do it. And v'chulu. That's how it goes. People, not in a bad way, in a good way. You see, he could do it, I could also do it. Why should I watch movies the entire flight when I could do a whole Masechta? Okay. Molandi, put that in your status, please. Shalom Rand, put that on your status. Yeah. If it's chal, the nether for a moment, then the second guy who mimicked it and copied it, he's also a nazir now. She's not a nazir anymore. That doesn't matter. So is it chal or not chal? Now, the Ran brings here, it's very interesting how this Ran works, by the way. For this Amud, for instance, you have to go all the way to Ayin Vav, Amud Aleph, to the middle of the page, more than middle. That's where the whole Masech is like that. It's like where most of Shas, Rashi's on that Amud exactly, and not once in a while it says Shaykh Amud Beis, it's one line. Over here, it's like you go 30 lines down, it's still part of Amud Beis, V'chein, it keeps, okay, fine. So the Ran says over here that you have a piece of meat that's shlamim, and it's after zrika. So, what's the halacha of that piece of meat? You already did all the avodas in the Beis Hamikdash and a piece of kachi kalim, and it's after zrika. Everybody could eat it. Yisrael could eat it. And somebody comes along and says, we had the sugya already. Somebody along and says, I want my meat. This piece of meat should be like this piece of shlamim. What did he mean? Did he mean now, right now? Right now, it's a regular piece of meat that everybody could eat. Or did he mean 25 minutes ago when it was asr? So what do we say? He's matbis it like now. Right now. What's right now? It's mutter to eat. He didn't mean ask the Ran. So by this lady also, he said, I want to be like her. But she right now is mutter. She's not a Nazira anymore. She was a Nazira for a second. She's like she's like shlamim 5 minutes ago. Shlamim 5 minutes ago is asr. But you say, no. He's not matbis on what 5 minutes ago. He's matbis on right now. So how come now, in this case, so the Ran says no, because over there he said, kozeh, kozeh. This piece of meat should be like this. Over here he said, Hareini Nazir kemoisa. I want to be Nazir, like she is. So we understand what he's talking about. He meant, I want to be a Nazir, like she was in a Nazir 5 minutes ago. Because kozeh, he doesn't say kozeh yesh lamim kozeh. He says, this piece of meat should be like this. If the guy said, I want to be like this woman, you're right. He didn't say, I want to be like this woman, like the lashon of the meat. Zeh kozeh. He added, Hareini Nazir kemoisa. No, like her, like she. No, it does have to do with her. It has everything to do with her. But he was masber what he wants to do. He was masber the state of Nazirus that she had, not the state of non-Nazirus. Now, I got this. Menachem Ates said this. Finally, I got a cartoon from this guy. Here is Hareini Nazir, and one guy says Gamani, and the next guy goes Gamani, Gamani. They're all matvis. They're all holding on to each other. But this is very good for the next question of the Ran. The Ran says that the halacha is that if the top guy is mutter, you matter him, then they all fall. Any guy that's mutter, that you do Torah to, then the rest below him go bye-bye. They're all holding on to each other. I'm like him, I'm like him. So if you get rid of the top guy, he goes to the Rav, and he says, I want to be matter my nether, so they all fall. So how come over here, when the husband was Mayfair, the guy, the Nazir that says, I want to be like her, he doesn't fall. He's like her. So she fell, so he should also fall. The answer is Pashut. In this case, when they all fall, because they did Hataras Nedarim. What's the Hataras Nedarim? Like Zalman Zvi said, it's a retroactive. Everything from day one goes bye-bye. So they all fall. Over here he's doing Hafara. Hafara is from here on out. The husband only has the right to go from here on out. So from here on out, he was able to catch a moment when she was in a zero. She was in a zero for a moment, and from that moment on, she's not in a zero, but she was in a zero. When you do Atara, they were never a Nazir. It becomes retroactively explained that they were never a Nazir. Okay, just a simple nafkamina between Atara and Afara. Says the Gemara. Tashma, Omer Eliezer meifin nedarim shebolach lal isur, lo yofer nedarim shleibolach lal isur. If, right, that was his svara in the Mishnah, Kavachaymer. If a husband has the right to annul his wife's nedarim even after she made them and they're solid, so certainly he should be able to do it when it's weaker, when it didn't even happen, he should be able to stop it. Shma mina, so what do you see from here? Loy chalin. There wouldn't be a Kavachaymer if it's chal a little bit and then he's able to annul it. Because then they're both chomer, yeah? There's no kal and a chaymer. You're saying, if my wife, who made a solid nether, I could undo it, So too, if my wife made a salad neder, so I can undo it. They're both salads. You want to say one is salad, one is weak. The only way the other one is weak is if it didn't happen. If it's not a neder, if it's right before becoming a neder. So what do you see? That didn't become a neder, because if it did become a neder even for a moment, then it's on the same playing field as a regular neder, and then you don't have a kavachaymer. Says the Gemara, Miktani she'enam boin, shleibo katani, adayin leibo. In other words, in English, how do you say that this neder will never happen? How do you say it will never happen? It won't come. It won't. Over here we're saying they didn't come. It didn't come yet. In other words, it's going to happen soon. So the Gemara is saying over here also. I'm not saying that this neder is not going to be chal for a moment. I'm just saying right now it didn't happen yet. I still have a kavachomer, says the Ran. Why? Because he uses a lashon. Kolchkin sheyafan nedarim shenoldu b'mumam imayim. Dainu afaras abal. There's a chisaron to this neder. It has a mum. It has a. So in Mela, I have a kal and a chomer. Toshma. Omer Rabbi Eliezer, ma b'mokim she'ein meifer nidri atzmoi mishen odar meifer nidri atzmoi achali yidor. It says like this in the pasuk: Ish ki yidor neder Hashem or yishav hashua les or yisal nafshoi loyachal dvari. A person, once he makes a neder loyachal dvari, he cannot take it back. He go to the rabbi, but he himself can't undo his own neder. But the halacha is, and we learned this, prove it to me. I could say, whatever neder I'm going to make in the future shouldn't be chal. How do you know that works? Huh? Kol nidrei. Very good. Mesechtes Nedarim daf chav gimel. V'aroitz shlo yiskayim nedarim kol hashana. If a person doesn't want his nedarim to be chal, yame b'rosh hashana v'yoyim kol neder shani asa lidar yeh batal. We do ataras nedarim. We do kol nidrei. The point is, I could say today that whatever is in the future shouldn't be chal. If I make a toast, it's a toast. Because if he doesn't make a toast, if he knows that he made this hataras nedarim and kol nidrei, then it doesn't work. If I say, I know that I made hataras nedarim, I want to make a neder anyways, then it's a good neder. The point is, he forgot. He forgot that he was matir all in the nedarim in the future. You could do that. Says the Gemara. See, listen to this kavachomer. A person cannot be made for his own neder. But he can make sure that his neder shouldn't be chal at all. So certainly when it comes to his wife, if I could annul a neder that already happened, certainly, you hear the kavachomer? A human being, a man, he could stop his own nedarim from happening, but he cannot take care of nedarim that he already made. So if he could take care of a neder that his wife already made, of course he can make sure that her nedarim shouldn't happen. My love, they're the same, him and his wife. Just like by him, he can make sure that his neder shouldn't be chal. He does kol nidrei or atas nidar. So too, you can do that for your wife. No connection. Maybe not. Maybe you can do it for yourself, and you can't do it for your wife. Toshma. So let me just explain this real quickly. I guess we could do this tomorrow, but it's kishmak sugi over here. Listen to this. A mikvah has a very interesting thing. If you go into the mikvah makes you tar. What if you go into the mikvah and you bring a ring with you inside your body, and the ring is tamei? So you go into the mikvah, the ring that goes into the mikvah with you and it comes out with you remains tamei. Yeah? The ring, you swallow the ring. Swallow the ring. Swallow the ring. So, the body, a human body, when he goes into the mikvah, he goes in tamei, comes out tar. In other words, the mikvah has the ability to remove tumah. The mikveh does not have the ability to save you from tumah. Two things. Forget about the ring for a second. Human body. A body without a ring. Body goes into the mikveh tameh, comes out tar. But if that human body was in a mikveh and you toss him a rat, he becomes tameh. So what do you see from that? That the mikveh doesn't have the ability to save you from tumah. It can only remove tumah. But when it comes to swallowing a ring, it's the exact opposite. I have the ability to swallow a ring, go into the mikveh. I come out of the mikveh, what happens? The ring remains tameh. Yet, if I swallow a ring that's tahar, and I walk into a room that has a dead body in there, what happens to the ring? It remains tahar. So in other words, the human body is like a box. It could save tumah, it could protect from tumah, but it cannot be mitar. The exact opposite of a mikveh. Again, a mikveh could be mitar. I take something that's tameh, put it into the mikveh, comes out tar. But it doesn't have the ability to protect. It could be mitar, it can't protect. Because if I'm in the mikveh and I hold a rat, I become tameh. So it didn't protect me. It cannot protect, it can be mitar. A ring inside a body is the exact opposite. I could protect a ring, but it cannot be mitar ring. If I swallow a tar ring and walk into a room with oil mace, I become tameh, the ring becomes tar. So what just happened? I protected the ring. It's like sitting in a mikveh and holding a sheretz and not becoming tameh. But you do become tameh in a mikveh. The ring does not become tameh in a room. But if I go into a room with a tameh ring, if I go with a tar ring into the room, it stays tar. But I'm able, so it protects, but it's not mitar. So if I take a tameh ring and I put it in my body, it's tameh tumas mace, and I go into a mikveh and toivel, my body becomes tar, the ring remains tameh. That means I don't have the ability to be mitar, I have the ability to protect. It's mamish, the exact opposite of a mikveh. So what do you see? All logic flies out the window. You can't make a kavachomer from a mikveh to a human being. They operate in different systems. Human being could protect and not be mitar. A mikveh could be mitar and not protect. Yeah, seems a little interesting. The point is, don't bring a raya to your wife. You could protect yourself from an Nedarim. You cannot be made for your own Nedarim. When it comes to your wife, you can be made for a Nedarim, but you can't protect a Nedarim. Have a wonderful day.